Host communities of Oml-25 flow station in River State are kicking against the presence of Shell Petroleum Development Company in the community. Traditional rulers and concerned residents of Akuku Toro local government area of River State made their grievances known through a press conference addressed by some of their leaders in Port Harcourt, the state capital. They're demanding the non-intervention of the state government in the dispute between them and Shell Petroleum Development Company.
This is a press conference convened by the traditional rulers and residents of Belema, Ofioma, and Injeje communities in Akuku Toro local government area of River State, who are the host communities of the Oml-25 flow station. The people, through the spokesman of the Kula Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers, Fiala Okoye David, are demanding the non-involvement of the River State government in the disputes between them and Shell Petroleum Development Company, as they say they have no confidence in the ability of the governor to resolve the matter.
We remain resolute, we remain united and committed to the dream of economic liberalization, education of our youth, emancipation from the shackles of slave masters who have destroyed all our aquatic livelihoods with their oil pollution and wanting to sell their assets and hand us over to our known new slave master, being the master plan.
Other leaders of the host communities also speak on the matter, saying there's no going back in their resolve to continue to occupy the oil facility until their demands are met.
So long as there are no criminal vices, so long as there is no breakage of pipelines and similar facilities, the Niger Delta region will continue to support the people of Pula in this demand for peaceful negotiation of the exit of SPDC from their area.
The president of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Sokubo Sarah Igbe, reiterates their demand for the divestment of the oil facility by Shell.
If the River State government is not also sincere, they should leave the matter the way federal government has tabled and handled the matter issues on this subject matter.
This group of women of the Oml-25 flow station are not left out, as they made an appearance at the venue of the press conference, carrying placards with various inscriptions, insisting they will remain at the oil facility, despite the ultimatum by the governor of River State for the resolution of the matter and reopening of the oil platform.
Seasoned tax administrator and first female professor of taxation in Nigeria, Olateju Shomori, has identified lack of trust in government as one of the factors affecting the level of tax compliance in Nigeria. Professor Shomori says that the disconnect can be bridged, though, if the necessary public infrastructure is provided. This was amongst the recommendations proffered for improved tax compliance during her inaugural lecture at Caleb University here in Lagos.
Robed in a revered academic regalia, Professor Olateju Abiola Shomori mounts the podium for her inaugural lecture as a newly appointed professor of taxation. It's also the fourth for the institution. Riding on the topic, taxpayers, voices, disconnect and tax compliance, she examines critical issues that are of great concern to taxpayers, including taxpayers' argument and voices raised globally on international tax avoidance.
Lots of people have complained that too many taxes are being collected in Nigeria. But it's not that government is not listening. Government has done something about multiplicity of taxes. That was what led to the prolongation of taxes and levies approved for collection.
At the end, recommendations that would help improve Nigeria's tax system are proposed. On the sideline, Professor Shomori explains the disconnect between taxpayers and government and how tax authorities can promote voluntary compliance.
A lot of people are displeased with the way government spends tax revenue. They cannot see how the revenue, how it is used. They can't see it. Then they need to identify the taxpayers If they don't identify the taxpayers, they don't know which taxpayer to assess, and you will not be able, if you don't assess the taxpayer, you will not be able to collect the tax. So that is another key.
The professor also shares her views on the proposed plan by the federal government to increase the value-added tax.
When VAT was to be introduced in 1991, Nigerians were fully prepared. There were a lot of campaign, there were a lot of enlightenment.
The taxation rate in Nigeria is somewhere, in the middle, and that they are still working out, things to ensure that the taxation regime, suits the peculiarities, the needs of Nigeria.
The school authority believes that the lecture will serve as a resource for advanced learning, especially for those who wish to deploy its recommendations to improve the tax system. Located in Ikorodu, Lagos State, Caleb University is envisioned to be a center of excellence through the provision of opportunities for respectable, highly qualitative and relevant university education that will engender the production of future leaders.
You're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, reaching you live from Lagos. Let's switch over to business news now with Kayode Okikiolu.
You First. First Bank.
Thank you, Gimba, and you're welcome to Business News. PricewaterhouseCoopers says that Nigeria is underperforming and needs to unlock as much as $900 billion worth of debt capital in order to increase economic activities and stimulate growth. According to its report titled, Bringing Debt Capital to Life, What Nigeria Must Do, PwC estimates that the country holds at least $300 billion or as much as $900 billion worth of debt capital in residential and agricultural real estate. The report further explains that lack of access to finance is a major contributor to persistent poverty. The firm notes that the International Monetary Fund's most recent report on Nigeria concludes that the country is set to experience an incremental decline in income per capita over the next 8 years through 2022. And the stock market ends the last trading day of June higher from the previous close as investors extended bargain across three key sectors of the NSE. Edidi Oginwag has details of today's trading session.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's the final trading day in June and the market closed on a positive note, up by 0.73%, with the headline index nearing the 30,000 level. Now looking at the sectoral chart, we see that Friday's gains are largely driven by the banking and consumer goods counters, which added 2.45 and 1.74% each. On the other hand, industrial goods reversed Thursday's gains, shedding 0.44%. Now the banking sector's performance is reflected on the list of top trades as 83.66 million and 18.24 million shares of Tier 1 lenders GT and Zenith Bank were traded. In all, over 248.3 million units worth 5.4 billion naira were traded in over 3,100 deals. And these were the top gainers and losers for the day. Well, that's the stock market report for the day and the month. I'm Edidi Oginwag.
Thank you, Edidiong. U.S. stock markets also ended the month of June higher, with the Dow and the S&P 500 making the biggest gains. But let's take a look at the rest of the global markets closing figures for Friday. Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I am Kayode Okikiolu. The news at 10 continues with Gimba.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kayode. Let's get a wrap-up of the international news. Simon Pusey is standing by with Around the World in 5.
The trade war between the US and China has cast a shadow over the G20 summit, with world leaders saying the ongoing dispute is fueling the global slowdown. On the sidelines, there's been tension during bilateral talks. The UK's outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May and the Russian President Vladimir Putin sharing a frosty exchange. These choreographed photo ops are usually all about smiles and warm words. Not this one. This, Theresa May's first meeting with Vladimir Putin since the UK accused Russia of carrying out a nerve agent attack in Salisbury last March. She told the president this behaviour can never be repeated, and Britain's relationship with Moscow cannot return to business as usual while the suspects remain at large. Very different scenes with Donald Trump, who was full of warm words for his Russian counterpart.
We're going to discuss a lot of different things. We've had great meetings. We have a very, very good relationship. And we look forward to spending some very good time together. A lot of very positive things going to come out of the relationship. So, Vladimir, thank you very much. Thank you.
Prompted by a question from a reporter, he even had time for a joke. The president also met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, just a day after he criticised the country for increasing tariffs on US goods. China, too, has been in the firing line, but talks with Xi Jinping are still to come. The Chinese president hasn't spoken directly about the meeting, but with both countries in the middle of a trade war, there's no doubt about their significance. After the day's events, traditional Japanese performances and a toast from the host.
Kanpai! Kanpai!
Now all eyes turn to the moment everyone's been waiting for. Donald Trump meeting his Chinese counterpart, with the US president saying he looks forward to productive talks. It remains to be seen if the smiles will continue when the leaders of the world's two biggest economies finally come face to face once again. France has recorded its hottest day ever, hitting 44.3 degrees as the heat wave gripping Europe intensifies. The country, along with Spain and Italy, issued red warnings, with temperatures in many places reaching the mid-40s. Thousands of schools were closed and people were told to be vigilant. The French health ministry says the true impact of the extreme weather won't be known for weeks. The unprecedented temperatures are also taking their toll in Catalonia, where emergency crews are battling one of the worst wildfires in 20 years. 60 square kilometres has already been burnt, but firefighters say that could quadruple. Farmers have been asked to stop all work across the region for 48 hours. In Paris, officers were booed as they pepper-sprayed a group of young protesters who were blocking traffic in the French capital. The demonstrators, who are calling for more government action on climate change, say the police response was unwarranted. The captain of a migrant rescue boat is facing arrest and a fine as a standoff with Italy continues. Sea-Watch 3, which picked up 53 men, women and children off the Libyan coast on June the 12th, has been denied access to the island of Lampedusa. Italian prosecutors have launched an investigation after the government accused the German captain of aiding people smugglers. Carola Raquette says she's done nothing wrong and has adhered to maritime laws.
The situation is incredibly tense. It's been getting worse and worse, basically since we picked up the survivors of this rescue case, and particularly in the last days the situation has become quite aggravated.
C'è un equipaggio fuori legge, un comandante fuori legge che vanno fermati, arrestati, espulsi, c'è una nave che per la terza volta non rispetta le regole, le leggi e il buon senso.
Protesters in Sudan are preparing to stage a mass demonstration this weekend. There have already been small gatherings to drum up support for Sunday's event. Citizens are still demanding a return to civilian rule more than 2 months after the Transitional Military Council took control. More than 250 people have now been arrested following the attack last weekend in Ethiopia's Amhara region. 5 government officials, including the army chief, General Seer Mekonnen, were killed during an alleged attempted coup. The remaining towers of the ill-fated Morandi Bridge in the Italian city of Genoa have been demolished in a spectacular fashion. 43 people were killed when a section collapsed last August. The controlled explosion paves the way for a new structure to replace the tragic landmark. And finally, solar power has brought a Californian hillside to life. Set across 15 acres, the Field of Light features 58,000 stemmed glass globes, which change colour and sway in the breeze. The exhibition is the brainchild of British artist Bruce Munro, who's also known for his large-scale installations. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Oh, interesting sways there. Many thanks indeed, Simon. Well, still ahead on the news at 10. Rivers United, Niger Tornadoes, Calabar Rovers and Kano Pillars qualify for the semi-finals of the 2019 ITO NFF Federation Cup. That's the sports news. Stay with us.